What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Wanted to talk today a bit about your gear and it holding you back. Fun topic to talk about. It's been debated ad nauseum for years, and I don't think we'll settle it here today. But I want to advocate for a side of the coin that doesn't get advocated for very often for your consideration. Now, I was watching a video that Joel Park did. I'll link it down below. Agree with most everything he said, which is why I'm sharing it with you. And the confusion point is this: you cannot buy skill. You cannot be done. All right. You can go to Home Depot and buy all the carpentry tools you want. You are not a master carpenter. All right. Those people have skills that they've developed over time to be who they are and do what they do. Same thing here in the shooting sports. You cannot buy skill. Now, if you have bad equipment and you have bad skills, if you get better equipment with bad skills, you will shrink your group sizes for sure, but that's not the complete picture. At the same time, what a lot of people don't want to advocate for, because it's not as cool, is bad equipment can hold you back. All right? Guns, belts, ammunition can hold you back if it is of subpar quality. What do I mean? All right. Analogy time, because analogies are just better. If we take your gun, whatever it is, and we say this represents the accuracy that it is capable of. All right. So if it's locked in a vise, void of any human interaction or error, it being a mechanical device, it won't just shoot the bullet in the same hole every time, unless you paid a lot of money for it, like a lot of money for it. All right. It probably has some kind of impact area that it will influence. Let's say that's represented by this sheet of paper. So it doing its thing, it will probably hit in the middle, but it is not unlikely for it to hit anywhere inside the paper. All right. That is the degree of accuracy it has. Talk about your ammunition. Let's say your ammunition has this degree of accuracy as well. All right. So powder charge, burn rate, bullet weight, harmonics of your barrel, consistency of all the above. All right. Ammunition, match grade ammunition costs more for a reason. It's not just a box. Sometimes the box helps, but a lot of times from major manufacturers, ammunition that is of premium quality is held to a higher quality control standard. Changes the degree of accuracy it is capable of. The burner 55 grain 223 is not as good as the 77 grain open tip match. It's just not. I'm sorry. But let's say whatever ammunition you choose is represented by this accuracy. And then let's say skill set wise, this is you. All right. On your best day, 3 Red Bulls in, this is what you can do on any given day. You holding the gun. All right. Now, let's also say that we had all of those meeting approximately the same thing. Let's say your gun is capable of a 2-inch group. Let's say your ammunition is capable of a 2-inch group in a good gun. And let's say you're capable of shooting that 2-inch group. In our marksmanship mind, we would think that those would stack up to be like, okay, they all have the same degree of accuracy, so this is what we should expect. However, remember what we said is that the mechanical accuracy of each one of those variables is anywhere inside of here. It's probably in the middle, but anywhere in here could happen. That's why we shoot 5-shot groups with rifles, right? Do they all stack up in a cloverleaf? No. They kind of print an area on the target, and we can kind of see a pattern of how that gun is calibrated. Same thing here. Flyers happen. Mechanical flyers happen. If all of our accuracies are of that 2 inches, we would think they all stack up like this. But in fact, they actually more stack up somehow like this. All right. So we could be on the periphery of one and still get a wider group from the other. All right. So this is where, like, when people oftentimes at work, when people call in for troubleshooting on optics, they'll be trying to zero their gun shooting 1 bullet at a time. All right. People have come up to trade shows and showed me targets. I'm like, this was my first shot and this was my second shot, and I made this adjustment and it was over here. They're chasing themselves around the map, shooting 1 at a time. Their gun You know, a lot of times, let's say it was a 2 MOA AR-15, their gun is also in the mix there. And then God knows what kind of rest they were on, okay? All the variables stack together, all right? So it's not necessarily a guaranteed 2-incher. It's probably more like a something like this, metaphorically, all right? And so when in the past I have said that I can shoot inside the accuracy of some of my guns, specifically pistols, all right? I can shoot a pistol in, you know, let's just say my skill set got this big, all right? I'm still shooting a pistol that's this big with ammunition that's this big, all right? When I'm inside, what I can do, I can see a flyer out here sometimes, all right? That's what I'm talking about, and where equipment is not necessarily representing your skill set. How big is the USPSA A zone? I believe the main A zone is about 6 inches wide. The top A zone, the head box, the credit card A zone, that's 2 inches tall. All right, you pay a lot of money for a 1911 to be guaranteed that it shoots a 2-inch group at 25 yards. All right, so success or failure in our sport, measured predominantly 9 millimeters at a time, is within the margin of error. You could do everything right, put the sight in the middle of that head box, and your gun could still throw a shot out. Most guns that are being used in the sport today. I know what you're thinking. Hey, Adam, I know you're like here, but I'm like dealing with this over here. All right, well, that's you, but your gun can still throw shots margin of error wise outside around the edge. If you're shooting at that A zone, that's 6 inches wide, all right, and you pull the trigger on a shot that's 1.5 inches from one of the horizontal borders or vertical borders, the mechanical accuracy of your gun could throw a shot outside. That's what I'm talking about here, and that equipment could hold you back. If you're going after a classification goal, I know a lot of people right now going after classification goals in my local club. I am as well, in a division. All right, making or breaking your goal is the difference between making that headshot or not. Or you have a full A zone, but there's a no shoot in there. All right, how close are you willing to tuck into your A zone to risk hitting that no shoot when your gun or your ammo could do you dirty and throw one there anyway? All right, bad equipment could hold you back. If you are an A or an M class shooter shooting a subpar gun, and your gun threw one of those Charlies or one of those no shoots when you did everything right, that holds your classification down. That drops you points in a match. That drops you places in a match. All right, where especially in USPSA, where we're counting alphas and Charlies and deltas and Mikes, all right, being either side of that line is within the margin of error of your gun. So the tighter margin of error your gun has, that affects your score. All right, and if you tell yourself, well, I'm not gonna buy whatever gun until I get to A class or I get to M class. If you're saying I'm not gonna invest in quality equipment until this is something I know I'm going to pursue exclusively or a lot, that's a smart decision. That's absolutely a smart decision. You should not throw a bunch of money at this if it isn't something that you really want to do. However, what most people are saying, in an effort to be humble, they're saying, well, I'm not good enough for that to matter. Well, if you're shooting A class and your gun is throwing shots that keep you in B class, that gun is holding you back. Now, more often, it's people, and a lot of people who, like, maybe you're watching these videos, if you're shooting A class and you're going for M class, the difference between A and M, or A and GM, M and GM, that's the difference between an alpha and a Charlie. All right, the times, especially on some of the classifiers, they're pretty spicy, and the difference between A and M, or M and GM, is a Charlie. All right, and if you're on the edge of the A zone, and you send a shot, but your gun throws you one of those flyers, welcome back to A class. You're still there. You're still not making your goal. All right, so it is possible for subpar gear to hold you back. A lot of times what this correlates into is belt gear. Belt gear and magazines, probably the two hardest things to get people to spend money on, all right? But belt gear, so people will have whatever, and they'll be like, well, I know it's not the right thing, but I'm going to work on it and get better. Okay, well, if your magazine pouch doesn't hold the magazine firmly in the correct place and then release smoothly as you grab it and in an ergonomic orientation, that magazine pouch is holding you back. I watched another video today from another channel I like. He was comparing two guns to each other. He's like, whoa, what's the difference? He was doing a 9 versus 45 thing, which is absurd on its head. But he did a 4 to the chest, reload 2 to the head kind of thing. And he did one, and then one was slower. The margin of difference between those two runs that he did was the margin of error of his reload, which he did from kind of a janky mag pouch in a position that he obviously doesn't practice from. All right, so in an effort to compare those two things, something that was completely unrelated skewed the test. All right, so a lot of people, especially if you're trying to come up in the sport, a sport that is very centralized around weapon manipulation, where your equipment is and how easy it is to get at and how ergonomic it is when you reach for it, that's very important. Mag pouches that hold the magazine firmly, release smoothly, and consistently hold their orientation in a very ergonomic position, they tend to cost more. All right, so bad equipment can hold you back. You can't buy skill, but bad equipment can hold you back. Don't use that as a skill not to get the equipment you need. When you want better equipment, when you need better equipment, you'll know. All right, you'll know. And in your head, if you think that you would do better with more precise, more accurate equipment, you're absolutely right. And if you don't think it'll matter, you're also right, but not for the reason you think. See you on the range soon.